Are you kidding me right now? Did WWE just throw away one of their most explosive storylines in years? Adam Pearce just walked out there and with one announcement completely destroyed what could have been the most intense rivalry heading into WrestleMania season. And if you think this is just another typical WWE power play, you're about to find out why this decision might be the biggest mistake WWE has made since they let CM Punk walk out the door 10 years ago. But before we dive into this absolute travesty of sports entertainment booking, let me tell you something that's going to make your blood boil even more. This whole situation could have been avoided if WWE management actually listened to what the WWE Universe has been screaming for months. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why this decision proves that WWE is more concerned about corporate politics than giving us the wrestling we deserve. Now, let's break down exactly what happened, because if you missed Monday Night Raw, you missed what might go down as one of the most controversial moments in recent WWE history. Bronson Reed, the man who has been absolutely demolishing everything in his path for the past 6 months, finally got his hands on Roman Reigns in what should have been the beginning of an epic feud that could have main event multiple premium live events. Instead, we got Adam Pearce strutting out there like some kind of corporate superhero, waving around his authority like it means something, and completely killing the momentum of what was building to be legendary. Here's what really happened, and this is going to make you furious. Roman Reigns was cutting one of his typical "Acknowledge Me" promos when Bronson Reed's music hit. Now, we've been waiting months for anyone to step up to Roman with the kind of intensity that actually feels legitimate. Reed comes charging down that ramp like a man possessed, and for the first time in forever, Roman actually looked like he might be in real trouble. Reed absolutely demolished Roman with a series of moves that left the tribal chief looking more vulnerable than we've seen him since his return. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. Instead of letting this play out naturally, instead of allowing these two powerhouses to build something that could have carried WWE programming for months, Adam Pearce comes out the very next week and announces that Reed is fired. Are you serious right now? This is the same company that let Austin and McMahon build a rivalry that literally saved the company during the Monday Night Wars, and now they're shutting down potential gold because, what? Because Roman got roughed up a little bit. Let me explain to you why this decision is not just bad booking, it's absolutely terrible for business. Bronson Reed has been consistently delivering some of the most explosive performances on Monday Night Raw for months. This is a guy who went from being overlooked in NXT to becoming one of the most legitimate monster heels in the entire company. His matches with guys like Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes, and even his brief encounters with CM Punk have been absolutely electric. The crowd has been getting behind him not because they love him, but because they respect the absolute destruction he brings every single time he steps through those ropes. And Roman Reigns? Look, I know we've all had our issues with the Roman push over the years, but even his biggest critics have to admit that he's been doing some of his best work recently. The tribal chief character has finally found its groove, and having someone like Reed challenge that authority with pure, unadulterated violence was exactly what that storyline needed. This wasn't some random attack, this was a statement that said your reign of dominance is over, and I'm the one who's going to end it. But apparently WWE management looked at that situation and thought, you know what? This is too good. Let's just fire the guy and pretend it never happened. What kind of logic is that? This is the same company that built WrestleMania main events around much less compelling storylines, and they're just throwing away what could have been their biggest box office draw heading into the Royal Rumble season. Now, let's talk about Adam Pearce's role in all of this, because his announcement wasn't just disappointing, it was absolutely infuriating to anyone who understands how professional wrestling is supposed to work. Pearce comes out there acting like he's making some kind of tough executive decision, talking about maintaining order and protecting the integrity of WWE. Protecting the integrity of WWE. Are you kidding me? This is the same company where we've seen steel chair shots to the head, tables being broken, and wrestlers being thrown off the top of hell in a cell. But apparently Bronson Reed going after Roman Reigns crosses some invisible line that we're supposed to respect. Here's what really makes this situation absolutely maddening. WWE has been desperately trying to create WrestleMania moments and legendary feuds, but every time something organic starts to develop, they shut it down because it doesn't fit their carefully planned corporate narrative. Remember when CM Punk's pipe bomb promo took the wrestling world by storm? That happened because it felt real, because it felt like something that wasn't scripted by a committee of writers who have never actually competed in a wrestling ring. The Reed and Roman situation had that same kind of energy. It felt unpredictable, it felt dangerous, and most importantly, it felt like it mattered. When Reed was destroying Roman, you could feel the entire arena holding its breath because nobody knew what was going to happen next. That's the kind of electricity that makes wrestling fans tune in every single week, not knowing if they're going to witness something that will be talked about for decades. But instead of capitalizing on that momentum, instead of building Reed into the kind of monster heel that could have carried major storylines for the next 2 years, WWE decided to take the safe route and just fire him? This is exactly the kind of thinking that has frustrated wrestling fans for years. Every time something feels authentic and unpredictable, it gets shut down in favor of whatever safe, predictable storyline the writers' room has been planning for months. And let's be real about what this decision says about WWE's current creative direction, because this isn't just about one storyline, this is about a pattern of behavior that shows WWE is more interested in controlling their narrative than creating compelling television. How many times have we seen wrestlers get over with the crowd, only to have their momentum killed because it didn't fit into the company's long-term plans? How many potential breakout stars have been held back because they weren't part of the chosen few that management decided to push? Bronson Reed was becoming one of those breakout stars. His work rate has been absolutely phenomenal, his character development has been organic and believable, and his feuds have consistently delivered some of the best matches on weekly television. This is a guy who could have been the next great monster heel in WWE, someone who could have been mentioned in the same breath as guys like Kane, The Undertaker, and Braun Strowman at his peak. Instead, he's being shown the door because, what? Because he made Roman Reigns look vulnerable for 10 minutes. Now, I want to address something that I know some of you are thinking right now. Maybe this is all part of a larger storyline. Maybe Reed getting fired is just a work, and he'll be back in a few weeks with an even bigger push. And honestly, I hope that's what's happening here, because if this is legitimate, it represents everything that's wrong with modern WWE booking. But here's the problem with that theory: WWE has a history of making these kinds of short-sighted decisions and sticking with them. Remember when they released guys like Luke Harper and Brody Lee, only to watch them absolutely tear it up in AEW? Remember when they let CM Punk walk away, and he became the hottest free agent in professional wrestling? Remember when they didn't know what to do with Jon Moxley, and he went on to become one of the biggest stars in the industry with multiple companies? This could be another one of those situations where WWE realizes too late that they let go of someone who could have been a major asset to their programming. And if that happens, if Bronson Reed ends up somewhere else and becomes an even bigger star, WWE management is going to look absolutely foolish for not recognizing what they had when it was right in front of them. But let's talk about the fans' reaction to this whole situation, because the WWE Universe has been absolutely vocal about their disappointment with Adam Pearce's announcement. Social media has been exploding with criticism of this decision, and for good reason. Wrestling fans aren't stupid, they can recognize when something has potential, and they can definitely recognize when that potential is being wasted. The comment sections on WWE's official posts have been flooded with fans expressing their frustration, not just with this specific decision, but with the overall direction of WWE programming. People are tired of feeling like their investment in storylines doesn't matter because creative decisions can change on a whim. They're tired of getting excited about potential feuds, only to have them shut down before they can really develop into something special. And here's what makes this even more frustrating: WWE has been talking a lot recently about listening to the WWE Universe and giving fans what they want. But apparently what fans want doesn't matter when it conflicts with whatever backstage politics or corporate mandates are driving these decisions. The fans were clearly invested in seeing where the Reed and Roman storyline was going to go. The reaction to their confrontation was overwhelmingly positive from people who were excited to see something fresh and unpredictable in the main event picture. Now, let's examine what this decision means for Roman Reigns' character moving forward, because this whole situation has implications that go far beyond just Bronson Reed's career. Roman has been positioned as this dominant, unstoppable force as the tribal chief, but having someone like Reed come in and absolutely brutalize him was actually good for his character development. It showed vulnerability, it created doubt about his invincibility, and it set up the potential for an incredible redemption arc where Roman would have to dig deeper than ever before to maintain his position at the top of the card. Instead, by having Reed simply fired rather than allowing Roman to overcome this challenge through his own actions in the ring, WWE has actually made Roman look weaker. It makes it seem like the tribal chief can't handle his own battles and needs management to step in and solve his problems for him. That's not the kind of character development that creates compelling television or builds sympathy for your top babyface. Roman Reigns at his best is when he's fighting against the odds, when he's facing challenges that seem insurmountable, and when he has to prove his worth through incredible performances in big match situations. The Reed storyline could have provided all of that. Instead, we get Adam Pearce essentially saying, "Don't worry Roman, we'll make the big bad man go away so you don't have to actually deal with him." How is that supposed to make Roman look strong or compelling as a character? This decision also raises serious questions about WWE's long-term planning and their ability to adapt to changing circumstances. Professional wrestling, at its core, is supposed to be reactive entertainment. The best storylines develop organically based on crowd reactions, wrestler performances, and unexpected moments that create new opportunities. When companies become too rigid in their planning, when they're unwilling to deviate from predetermined scripts, they miss out on the kind of lightning-in-a-bottle moments that create legendary feuds and career-defining matches. The Reed and Roman situation was exactly that kind of opportunity. It was unexpected, it felt fresh, and it opened up countless possibilities for where their rivalry could go. They could have had a series of increasingly violent encounters leading up to a major premium live event showdown. They could have involved other wrestlers in their feud, creating multiple storylines and opportunities for character development. They could have built to a match that would have been talked about for years as the moment when Bronson Reed truly arrived as a main event player in WWE. All of that potential has been thrown away because WWE apparently values predictability over creativity, corporate control over organic storytelling, and safe booking over the kind of risks that create truly memorable wrestling moments. Let's also consider what this decision says about WWE's confidence in their own roster and their ability to handle complex storylines. By immediately firing Reed instead of allowing this situation to play out, WWE is essentially admitting that they don't trust their own creative team to turn this into compelling television. They're saying that instead of rising to the challenge of booking a potentially difficult storyline, they'd rather just eliminate the complicating factor entirely. That's not just bad for Reed and Roman, it's bad for every wrestler on the roster who might be watching this situation and thinking, if I step outside the lines even a little bit, if I try to create something special that wasn't pre-approved by the writer's room, I could end up fired too. That kind of environment doesn't encourage creativity or risk-taking, which are essential elements of great professional wrestling entertainment. And speaking of the roster, let's talk about what this means for other wrestlers who might be looking for opportunities to break out and establish themselves as main event players. Bronson Reed's firing sends a clear message: stay in your lane, don't upset the established order, and definitely don't do anything that might make the chosen top stars look vulnerable. That's exactly the opposite of the kind of environment that creates breakout stars and legendary performances. Some of the greatest moments in wrestling history have come from wrestlers who were willing to take risks, who were willing to step outside their prescribed roles and create something unexpected. Stone Cold Steve Austin became a megastar by doing exactly what Bronson Reed did. He targeted the company's top star and made it personal. The Rock developed his legendary charisma by being willing to adapt and change his character based on crowd reactions. CM Punk's rise to main event status came from his willingness to blur the lines between reality and storyline in ways that made everything feel more authentic. But in today's WWE, apparently that kind of innovation and risk-taking is discouraged rather than rewarded. Instead of looking at Reed's attack on Roman and thinking this guy has main event potential, let's see how far we can push this storyline. Management's first instinct was to shut it down completely. That's not just disappointing for fans, it's potentially devastating for the long-term health of WWE's creative environment. Now, let me address something that I know some viewers are going to bring up in the comments: the argument that Reed went into business for himself or that his attack on Roman wasn't approved by management. Even if that's true, even if Reed made a decision to deviate from the planned script, the appropriate response shouldn't be immediate termination. Professional wrestling has always had elements of improvisation and adaptation. The best wrestlers and the best storylines often come from moments when performers are given the freedom to react authentically to unexpected situations. If Reed really did go off script with his attack on Roman, that could have been turned into an incredible storyline about a wrestler who was tired of being held back by corporate politics and decided to take matters into his own hands. That's a storyline with real emotional resonance because it taps into frustrations that many wrestlers and fans have with the way modern wrestling companies operate. Instead of punishing Reed for showing initiative and creating compelling television, WWE could have rewarded him by building an entire character arc around his rebellion against the establishment. But that would have required creative thinking, willingness to adapt to changing circumstances, and confidence in their ability to turn unexpected developments into compelling storylines. Apparently, those are qualities that WWE management currently lacks, or at least qualities they're unwilling to demonstrate when it comes to protecting their carefully controlled corporate image. The more I think about this situation, the more angry it makes me, because it represents so many of the problems that have been frustrating wrestling fans for years. We've been asking for unpredictable storylines, for wrestlers who feel authentic and dangerous, for feuds that matter and have real consequences. When we finally get something that checks all those boxes, it gets shut down immediately because it doesn't fit into whatever sanitized, corporate-approved vision of wrestling entertainment WWE is trying to promote. This isn't just about Bronson Reed, and it isn't just about Roman Reigns. This is about WWE's willingness to take risks, to trust their performers, and to give fans the kind of unpredictable, emotionally investing programming that made us fall in love with professional wrestling in the first place. By firing Reed instead of building on the momentum of his confrontation with Roman, WWE is sending a clear message that they value control over creativity, predictability over excitement, and corporate interests over fan engagement. And that should make every wrestling fan absolutely furious, because it means we're likely to see more of the same safe, predictable, focus group-tested programming that has been driving fans away from WWE and toward competitors who are willing to take the kind of risks that create truly memorable wrestling moments. The saddest part of this entire situation is that it didn't have to end this way. Reed and Roman could have had an incredible feud that elevated both of their characters and gave fans months of compelling television. Instead, we're left with another example of WWE's inability to recognize opportunity when it's staring them directly in the face, another talented performer whose potential has been wasted due to short-sighted booking decisions, and another reason for fans to question whether WWE is truly committed to giving them the kind of wrestling entertainment they deserve. But here's what I want to know from you: are you as frustrated with this decision as I am? Do you think WWE made a massive mistake by firing Bronson Reed instead of building on his confrontation with Roman Reigns? And what do you think this decision says about WWE's current creative direction and their willingness to take risks with their programming? Let me know in the comments below, because I want to hear from the WWE universe about whether you think this decision represents everything that's wrong with modern wrestling entertainment, or if you think there's something I'm missing about the bigger picture here. Because at the end of the day, this story isn't over yet. Reed,